In the chilling autumn of 1605, a terrifying secret festered beneath the very heart of England. It was a plot so audacious, so utterly unthinkable that its success would have shattered the foundations of power, plunged a kingdom into anarchy, and changed the course of history forever. Imagine, if you dare, a scheme to blow King James I, his entire government, and the Houses of Parliament into oblivion with a single colossal explosion. This wasn't the fantasy of a madman. It was a meticulously planned act of fiery treason driven by desperate religious fervor and an unyielding thirst for revenge. This is the story of the Gunpowder Plot, a conspiracy born of fanaticism, betrayal, and enough explosive power to consume a nation in fire and chaos. To fully grasp the desperate gamble of the Gunpowder Plot, we must first understand the simmering religious tensions that poisoned early 17th century England. For decades, the nation had been a battleground between Protestantism and Catholicism, a conflict that often turned bloody. After the long reign of Queen Elizabeth I, who, despite her own Protestant faith, had navigated a complex path of relative religious tolerance, a new era dawned with the ascension of King James I in 1603. James, a staunch Protestant, brought with him a renewed, aggressive zeal for religious conformity. His rule quickly ushered in a period of escalating persecution for English Catholics. They were viewed with deep suspicion, seen as potential traitors loyal to Rome rather than their king. Laws grew harsher. Attending Mass became a crime. Priests faced execution, and Catholics were barred from public office. Fines for non-attendance at Anglican services, known as recusancy fines, were rigorously enforced, systematically stripping wealthy Catholic families of their fortunes and pushing poorer ones into destitution. The hope that many Catholics had harbored upon James's ascension, that he, having a Catholic mother, Mary, Queen of Scots, might offer leniency, quickly evaporated, replaced by a profound sense of betrayal and despair. This relentless pressure, this systematic erosion of their rights and dignity, pushed many English Catholics to the very brink. Anguish turned to anger, and anger to a desperate conviction that only radical, violent change could save their faith and their lives. The stage was set for an act of terror born from years of quiet suffering and fervent, unforgiving zeal. From this crucible of desperation, a chilling figure emerged: Robert Catesby. A wealthy, charismatic English Catholic, Catesby was no stranger to rebellion. He was a man consumed by a fanatical religious zeal, convinced that peaceful avenues for Catholic emancipation were utterly exhausted. For him, a violent uprising was not just an option, but a divine necessity to restore Catholicism in England. His vision was audacious and terrifying, a swift, decisive strike that would decapitate the Protestant government and usher in a new Catholic monarchy. Catesby meticulously began to gather his conspirators, hand-picking men who shared his fervent faith and desperate resolve. He sought not just foot soldiers, but individuals with specific skills crucial to his explosive plan. Among them was Thomas Wintour, a seasoned soldier and a trusted confidant, who became his right-hand man. Then came the introduction to Guy Fawkes. Fawkes, a hardened Catholic convert with extensive military experience fighting for the Spanish in Flanders, was a skilled explosives expert, a man of unwavering resolve and grim practicality. His expertise in siege warfare and handling gunpowder made him an invaluable yet chilling asset to the plot. Other key figures like Thomas Percy, a distant cousin to Catesby and a member of the royal bodyguard which granted him access to Westminster, and John Wright, a skilled swordsman, were drawn into the deadly web. This was no band of common criminals, but a clandestine cell of zealots, united by a shared grievance and a fanatical commitment to a plan that would, they believed, deliver a divine judgment upon their oppressors. The stage was set for an act of unparalleled terror. The conspirators' meticulously planned act of terror now began to take terrifying physical form. Their plan was daring, simple, and utterly audacious. They would strike at the very heart of the English government. Thomas Percy, one of the conspirators who was also a distant cousin of Robert Catesby and part of the royal bodyguard, exploited his connections to lease a cellar directly beneath the House of Lords, the very chamber where King James I and the entire Parliament would gather. This was their chosen killing ground, concealed beneath the bustling streets of Westminster. What followed was an arduous and incredibly dangerous task. Over several grueling months, the conspirators embarked on the covert operation of smuggling a staggering 36 barrels of gunpowder into that rented cellar. Each barrel weighed over 100 pounds, requiring immense physical effort and stealth. They worked in the dead of night under absolute secrecy, painstakingly moving the volatile explosives through the narrow, dark alleys of London. Once inside the cellar, the barrels were cunningly hidden beneath piles of coal and bundles of firewood, known as faggots, designed to appear as innocent winter provisions. The sheer scale of this destructive potential was unimaginable. 36 barrels of gunpowder held enough power not just to demolish the House of Lords, but to obliterate Westminster Palace and inflict catastrophic damage across a wide swath of London, sending thousands of innocent lives into oblivion. This silent threat lay hidden, ticking like a time bomb, beneath the very feet of power, awaiting its deadly detonation. The conspirators were meticulous, but even the most careful plans can be undone by a single unforeseen act of betrayal. Just 10 days before the planned explosion on October 26, 1605, a pivotal moment of discovery began to unfold. An anonymous letter written in a disguised hand was delivered to Lord Monteagle, a Catholic nobleman whose brother-in-law was one of the conspirators. The letter was cryptic but chillingly clear. It warned Monteagle to stay away from Parliament on November 5th, for they shall receive a terrible blow, yet they shall not see who hurts them. Monteagle, disturbed by the ominous tone, immediately took the letter to Robert Cecil, the Earl of Salisbury, King James I's chief minister. Initially, Cecil downplayed the threat, perhaps seeing it as a hoax. However, the king himself, known for his keen intellect and suspicion, reportedly reviewed the letter. He noticed the phrase, "the blow shall be sudden," interpreting it as a warning of an explosion rather than a general uprising. James ordered a subtle yet swift royal investigation. Teams were dispatched to search the cellars beneath Parliament, initially performing a perfunctory inspection. They found the cellar leased by Thomas Percy, packed with coal and firewood, and noted a man, Guy Fawkes, present, but found nothing overtly suspicious. Yet a creeping unease, a chilling premonition, lingered. The investigation was not over. The clock was ticking, and the fate of the monarchy now hung precariously on the threads of a single anonymous warning and the king's own intuition. As the clock ticked past midnight on November 5th, 1605, King James, still uneasy about the anonymous letter, ordered a more thorough search of the parliamentary cellars. Just after midnight, a search party led by Sir Thomas Knivet, the keeper of the Palace of Westminster, cautiously entered the cellar leased by Thomas Percy. The air was thick with tension, and the only sound was the muffled footsteps echoing off the stone walls. Then they saw him. Huddled in the darkness, guarding a suspicious pile of faggots and coal, was a man. Guy Fawkes. He was dressed for travel, wearing a cloak and boots with a lantern in his hand and matches in his pocket. Knivet and his men immediately seized him. As they began to pull away the bundles of wood, the horrifying truth was revealed. Beneath them lay 36 barrels of gunpowder, enough to utterly obliterate the Houses of Parliament and everyone within. The discovery was met with a wave of immense relief that quickly mingled with profound terror. News of the plot's foiling spread like wildfire through London and across England. A collective gasp of horror and gratitude swept through the nation. The king, The government and the entire Protestant establishment had been within hours of annihilation. The near miss was almost incomprehensible, unleashing a pervasive fear of Catholic extremism that would haunt Britain for centuries. Fawkes's immediate capture marked the agonizing beginning of the plot's unraveling, but the true horrors of the king's justice were yet to come. With Guy Fawkes secured, the English authorities moved swiftly to extract confessions, determined to uncover every name involved in the plot. What followed was not a gentle interrogation, but the chilling application of the king's justice, a brutal process designed to break even the most resolute spirit. Fawkes was immediately taken to the infamous Tower of London, a place synonymous with torment and despair. There, under the relentless questioning of King James's most trusted interrogators, the full horror of state-sanctioned torture began. Initially, Fawkes remained defiant, his resolve as hard as the stone walls surrounding him. He refused to give up any names, maintaining a stoic silence that frustrated his captors. But the Crown had methods for breaking such wills. King James himself, in a chilling instruction, authorized the use of the gentler tortures, and so by degrees proceeding to the worst. This meant the systematic application of escalating pain designed to strip away all resistance. Fawkes was subjected to brutal questioning day and night, deprived of sleep and threatened with unimaginable agony. The worst of these tortures was the rack, a device of unspeakable cruelty. Fawkes would have been strapped onto a large wooden frame, his wrists and ankles secured by ropes. Slowly, agonizingly, the executioners would turn a windlass, stretching his body, dislocating his joints, and tearing his muscles. The pain would have been excruciating, a searing agony that stretched his limbs beyond their natural limits, threatening to rip him apart. Yet even under this torment, Fawkes initially resisted, his signature a barely legible scrawl, refusing to implicate his fellow conspirators. But the rack was relentless, its purpose absolute. After days of unimaginable suffering, his body utterly broken, Fawkes finally began to confess, his words now flowing freely, revealing the names of Catesby, Percy, and the others. His confession, agonizingly extracted, unleashed a relentless wave of arrests across England. With confessions brutally extracted, the surviving conspirators faced a swift and terrifying trial. Robert Catesby, the plot's mastermind, was killed resisting arrest, but others, including Guy Fawkes and his remaining co-conspirators, stood condemned. Their guilt was undeniable, their fate sealed. What followed was not just an execution, but a meticulously choreographed display of royal vengeance, a chilling public spectacle designed to deter any future act of treason against the crown. The method chosen for their demise was the full, horrifying brutality of hanging, drawing, and quartering, a punishment reserved for the gravest traitors. On January 30th and 31st, 1606, crowds gathered in Westminster and St. Paul's churchyard to witness the gruesome spectacle. Each man was first dragged through the streets on a hurdle, enduring public jeers and humiliation, their bodies battered by the cobblestones. Then the true horror began. They were hanged by the neck, but cut down while still alive, their consciousness clinging to a thread. What followed was a public disembowelment. Their internal organs were removed and often burned before their very eyes. This was a systematic destruction of humanity, designed to inflict maximum agony and degradation. After this unimaginable torment, they were beheaded. Finally, their bodies were brutally cut into 4 quarters. These dismembered pieces, along with their tarred heads, were then displayed on spikes across London and other parts of England, grim, undeniable warnings to anyone contemplating rebellion. The message was explicit. This was the terrifying price of defying the crown. This horrifying display of justice etched itself into the national consciousness, a bloody testament to state power and the extreme lengths taken to maintain order. The immediate aftermath of the Gunpowder Plot plunged England into a new era of profound fear and suspicion. News of the foiled attempt unleashed a ferocious wave of anti-Catholic sentiment across the nation. Already viewed with deep mistrust, Catholics now faced intensified persecution. New discriminatory laws were enacted, their rights further curtailed, and their loyalty to the crown remained perpetually suspect for centuries. This climate of fear profoundly shaped British society, turning suspicion into policy and eroding trust between communities. The lasting legacy of the Gunpowder Plot, however, extends far beyond those immediate consequences. It is commemorated annually on November 5th, a night that has become known as Guy Fawkes Night, or Bonfire Night. For over 400 years, bonfires have blazed, effigies of Guy Fawkes have been burned, and fireworks have illuminated the autumn sky. What began as a mandatory celebration of deliverance from Catholic terror evolved into a complex national tradition, reinforcing a specific narrative of British identity. The memory of the conspiracy profoundly shaped British history and national identity, forever linking defiance and perceived threats with dark, explosive acts and cementing the Protestant establishment. The plot stands as a chilling reminder of how easily fear can be weaponized, how deeply rooted paranoia can become, and how a single act of desperate treason can leave an indelible mark on a nation's soul. If this chilling, in-depth tale of the Gunpowder Plot, a conspiracy born of fanaticism, betrayal, and enough explosive power to consume a nation, left you unsettled and eager for more dark historical revelations, please do hit that like button. Share this video with someone who appreciates the raw, profound truths history offers, and don't forget to subscribe to Tales of Tortures and turn on notifications so you never miss another journey into history's most compelling, terrifying, and illuminating stories. Stay tuned.